Tell the truth. This is something we teach our kids, even though they don't have the brains to understand it. This is something that we tell ourselves. This is something that we tell our spouses. This is something that we tell everyone around us. Tell the truth. Tell the truth, right? Like this is something that we all want. We all demand. If I ask 1,000 people, are you honest? Everyone will tell me they're honest. And yet very few people prove out to actually be honest in our lives. In fact, if I was to say, are you a liar? The one person I would know for a fact is not a liar is the person who doesn't raise their hand when I say, are you a liar? Why? Because we do this over and over and over again. We lie all the time. Now, this doesn't mean we're evil people. This just means we're human. This just means there's advantages for lying. The truth is, if you think about it for a second, in your social surroundings, in your church or your community or your schools or your family, if I said you could pick one of these things, one is everybody knows you're telling the truth, but you're actually lying all the time. Or everybody knows you're lying, but you're actually telling the truth all the time. Now, some of you are already riling up and saying, yeah, but me, I have real integrity. I would rather everyone think I'm lying but actually be telling the truth. And you would die a horrible death if we were out on the plains, 100, 200, 500 years ago. 1,000 years ago, you would have no chance at survival. Why? Because we need to share. We need community. It is not true that the man who can tell the truth is the most powerful man in the room. It is not true that the person who can do everything by themselves is the most powerful person. No, it's the person with the strongest community. It's the person who has the community that can do the most. It's the person who has the strongest ties to those community. And baked into that is why we lie. Because losing community is losing something tremendously valuable as a human being. And when we can't hang on to community, when we know that we've hurt the community, we will lie to try to make things meet. When the edges of our reality and what we're supposed to be don't quite match up, we'll use kind of that wood putty of lying to cover it over. I'm not saying it's right. It's just what it is. This morning, my son was lying to me in the car. I said, are you ready? Yes. Okay, let's go. He doesn't have shoes or socks on. Now, he's almost 12 years old, right? We're not talking about a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old will just hop out to school barefoot. He's barefoot. I said, man, you just told me you were ready. Well, I mean, I was, except for my shoes, my socks, and then you listed like 4 other things. I'm like, so if it's except for, then it's not ready. Now, my wife sometimes does the same thing to me and other people that, hey, are you ready? Yeah. And then I'm like, well, where are you? Why aren't we walking out the door? Well, I got to do this, this, this. So the answer was actually no, right? But the social grease is yes. Why did he say that? I asked him, I said, man, that's a lie. He's like, no, that wasn't a lie. I'm like, okay, so and let me ask you a question. Is having no shoes or socks on ready to go to school? Yes or no? No. Did you say you were ready? Yes. So why did you lie? Well, I didn't want you to be mad at me and I knew I could do it really quick. I said, so why didn't you just say, all right, when I said, are you ready? No, I'm not ready, but I'm going to be ready in just a second because I just had to put my shoes on. Well, I didn't want to get in trouble. Notice social grease, right? It's the same reason that you lie over and over and over. If you thought everybody could just accept everything that was true about you all the time, you'd never have any reason to lie. We happen to know from painful experience that isn't true. Usually our parents give us some of those experiences really early on, right? But when we talk about telling the truth, there are 3 levels of the truth. Okay, so there are 3 levels of telling the truth. And it's very important for you to understand each of these levels if you're going to be a truth teller, right? So the first layer of the truth is don't make shit up. I mean, don't manufacture things that aren't true and present them as truths. Okay, this is the most basic layer of telling the truth, which is just don't make shit up. Right? Like, why are you late? Well, there was a giant traffic jam and also a fire and I had a flat tire and my hands don't have stuff on it because I stopped to take a shower because I didn't want to be dirty when I got here. And like just making things up that aren't true, manufacturing stories to replace what's actually real. This is the kid, you walk in the room, they have the giant clump of, like whipped cream on their face. Like, hey, did you eat some of that pie? No. Right? Just completely manufacturing. So the first layer of the truth is the cessation of making shit up. Okay, just making things up. Just really saying something that has nothing at all. I know that this isn't true. Whitney saying, "Did you mail that letter?" Yes, while I'm looking at it on my desk and thinking, damn, I better put that in the mail today. So that's true. I'm going to say it now, but I'm going to make it true before I get home. Did you deposit that check? Yes. I don't know why it's not in. Did you mail that check? This is when salespeople get all the time. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know where it is. Yeah, I definitely mailed it. Oh, the U.S. Postal Service. Those guys. But we know we haven't mailed it. We know there's not even money in the account to do it, right? So we're what? We're making shit up. So the first layer and the lowest layer of telling the truth is don't make shit up. That seems simple. Most people don't even hit that level. Most people never really crack that level. They struggle with that level for the rest of their lives. Okay, for their whole lives. But if you do crack that level and you stop making shit up, you say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to be real from now on. You'll get to the second layer of the truth. The second layer of the truth is don't believe your own lies and then repeat them to everybody. Now, this is more tricky, right? Because it's very difficult to know which lies you're doing. Now, people who really make an effort at being honest and people who really care about being in integrity, this is the layer of the truth that they find themselves against often. And what's really funny is people who really, really, really think that they are truth tellers, right? Don't want to hear about this layer because they'll say, well, I don't believe any lies. There's nothing I believe that's a lie. There's nothing that I'm not telling the truth about. So yeah, first layer of the truth, don't make shit up. Second layer of telling the truth, don't lie to yourself and then tell everyone else that as if it's true. The thing is, this second layer of the truth is really dangerous because you actually believe it. Like if I gave you a polygraph, you would believe it, but that doesn't mean it's true, right? Like let's say Fran decides in her infinite wisdom one day, like I'm not enough for my marriage. Like my husband will never be happy with me. And she really believes that. Now it's total crap. And I would know her husband and he loves her to death, right? But she believes it. And then she'll just go around telling everyone, I'm never going to be enough for him. It's just not that. And is she lying? Yes. It's not objectively true, but she believes it and then regurgitates it. This is where our insecurities and our fears can really take over, right? Or we just start telling ourselves some wild ass story like the earth is flat. Why? I don't know. We just decided the earth was flat. And then we just start really believing that. And then we just start pushing it out there over and over and over. And if you get a big enough mass of content, everybody will believe it. Everybody. I mean, side note, flat earthers, it's a fun rabbit hole to fall down, but sorry. I mean, come on. But I mean, it's fun. I've gone down it. It is a fun thought, and it's fun to think about how that things would be true. The only problem is every advancement in physics and modern science pretty much goes the other direction, right? But yeah, I believe a lie and then I regurgitate it. That is the second layer. Now, let's say that you crack the first layer, you stop making shit up. That's hard. Let's say that you crack the second layer, okay, and you stop believing lies and then regurgitating them. Okay, what's the third layer of the truth? Well, the third layer of the truth is the truth changes. The truth changes. Okay, so the very top level of telling the truth is to understand that the truth changes often, almost always, right? Here's one way to know. If I asked every one of you, although right now it looks like a pretty day everywhere everybody is, but if I asked every one of you, is it raining? You would have an answer. But if I asked you every 15 minutes for the next 6 weeks, you may have a different answer. Why? Because shit changes. The weather changes, right? What we believe changes. Muhammad Ali is really famous. When he was 50 years old, people really hit him. He changed his opinions about a few things. He became slightly more conservative, I guess would be a way to say it. And they're like, hey, you said all this stuff in your 20s, and now you're saying the opposite. And he said, listen, a man who has the same opinion at 50 that he had at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. Right? Why? So what changed? He changed. Reality changed. The world changed. So we have to accept that the truth changes. This is not to say that there's no objective truth. This is not to say that everything always changes. Although, man, I tell you what, I think one of the fundamental truths of life is everything changes and everything ends. Everything. And if you can show me the thing that doesn't, I'd love to see it. The only things that don't change or don't end are things that we imagine or have faith in. because people will immediately say, God, you're never going to be able to show that to me because it's a faith thing. And I applaud your faith in that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but just see that that's a faith thing. There's nothing that doesn't change, and there's nothing that doesn't end that you see. Nothing, not even the sun. Like, we watch stars extinguish, right? Like, even the sun will end. Even the sun changes. So these are the 3 layers of telling the truth. Stop making shit up. Stop believing lies and regurgitating them as the truth. Understand that the truth changes constantly. So that what you said yesterday might not be what you said today. In fact, if I ask Fran 4 times in a row on this call how she's feeling, she could give me 4 different answers and they could all be completely true. Why? Because your body really only holds on to an emotion or an actual physical feeling for about 90 seconds, unless you hang on to it for some reason. I could be like, how you feeling? All right. And I'd be like, no, really, how you feeling? I'm okay. How are you feeling? A little pissed off now? No, really, how are you feeling? Well, now I'm angry, right? And there's like an escalation, or there could be some other thing. Or maybe it's like, how you doing? Great. Well, your face doesn't look great. How are you feeling? I'm really frustrated because I think something horrible is happening. Okay, well, how are you feeling? Well, I actually feel a little lighter now that I said that. Well, how are you feeling now? Yeah, I feel like maybe the people here could help me. You mind if I share? Boom, there's 4 different emotions in 10 seconds. That's not crazy. We all have things happen like that. Is she telling the truth? Well, she could be taking us on a ride to manipulate us into doing something, but that can truly happen. And we have to allow for that if we're going to be truth tellers and if we're going to allow other people to be truth tellers. If we're going to understand that other people to tell the truth, there's also those 3 layers. When you meet people in your life, a really fun exercise is to figure out where they're at. Are they still making shit up? Are they just believing their own lies and regurgitating it? Different way of cracking that, right? You know, if your husband is just making shit up all the time, that's pretty easy to handle. You just like show receipts, show pictures, right? But if your husband's believing a lie about himself and then regurgitating, that's tougher. And you got to be softer about that. Why? Because his belief matters. Even if it's a false belief, even if I'm wrong, I obviously am really attached to this thing. And so I have to be careful how I break belief with someone, because if I break belief, I could break the person, or more likely, I could break the relationship with that person. It's not really that you'll probably break the person, but I mean, that's possible, but really you'll break the relationship. And do you really want to break the relationship? But you can know that about them. And then the third thing is, hey, the truth changes. Is this a person who can accept that? I mean, guess what? The truth doesn't care. Whether you can accept it or not, it changes all the time. So seeing these 3 layers of the truth will help you to be a truth teller more and more and more. We're still all liars, okay? Because we all believe bullshit and then repeat it. Because we all, in a moment of weakness or fear or scarcity, lie to cover our tracks. We all do this, okay? We all refuse to see that the truth has changed, or refuse to admit that the truth has changed despite all evidence otherwise. We just do it. It's just part of human nature. Being a liar is part of that imperfect part of us, okay? But seeing this hopefully can help you move forward. Seeing this hopefully can help you have a better life. My question to you is, like, where in your life are you? At which layer of the truth are you? Right now, there might not be only one answer. In your marriage, you might be at a certain place. In work, you might be at a certain place. In finances, you might be at a certain place. A lot of people in finances, they're not lying because they're just not looking. So that's called making shit up by not looking. Side note, the account's still there. It's still either negative or positive just because you didn't look. But yeah, so ask yourself that question and hopefully that can help you to be a more powerful person and to actually live your legend in truth, which is hard and not for the faint of heart.